Choosing a college essay topic is challenging. A lot of students are not sure what they can and cannot talk about. These essays literally are students' chance to sell themselves to admissions committees, and sometimes they can even reuse these essays for scholarships. So in today's video, I want to break down common essay topics that we want to avoid and what we can talk about instead. This way we can have a compelling, memorable essay rather than one that is just thrown in the trash. Now, don't forget to hit subscribe because every week we have a new strategy for your family to work towards a debt-free education. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, where we redefine paying for college to help families build strong financial futures rather than ones where their children are paying on decades of student loan debt. Now, scholarships are our bread and butter. In fact, we've helped families secure well over $15 million to date and growing every single day. But that said, essays, of course, are a huge piece of scholarships, and what we look for in essays and scholarships is very similar to admissions essays. So I'm excited about today. Now, before I begin, like I mentioned, these essays could possibly help with scholarships. So if you are having a hard time finding scholarships that your student can apply to, or if you're a student watching this, if you're not sure where to find scholarships, I do have a free webinar for parents where I cover my 6 steps to securing scholarships, including going in depth on where to find legitimate ones. So you can click the link on the screen or somewhere here, and we will also link to that free webinar in the description, or you can just go to thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar to register for that once you're done with this video. Now, before I get into that first topic, I do want to say that if you or your student have been writing about this topic, don't think that this means that the essay needs to just completely be thrown out. It may just need some tweaking. So every topic that I'm talking about might be a common one that we've seen, but I'm also going to give an angle of how we can make it a little bit more unique. All right, so that said, the first one is that common sports victory essay. Honestly, why should we avoid this? It's typically because it's very overdone. So when we're talking about an essay that's focusing on a play-by-play of a game or something where we won and I learned hard work, that is pretty surface level and very common. So it's easy to just kind of forget when it comes to reading the essays. So instead, what we want to focus on is the personal process of growth, not the big win. For example, maybe a student did not make the varsity team, but it taught them to persevere and creativity to improve their own skill on their own and then make varsity, or they're going to go for varsity. Maybe they haven't even made it yet. Or if they're captain of the team, maybe reflecting on a specific time where they mediated a team conflict and how it helped them learn as a leader. And then the win just made it all the sweeter, right? So the win is very minor when it comes to the essay. It's more about that role as a student and the transformation they experienced and ultimately how it's going to benefit them in college and beyond. So focusing on the student, the transformation, the relationship with the sport, that's another angle that we could go after here. Did it teach them to be disciplined or to balance passions and responsibilities? So that is where we want to focus. Okay, the next one is the volunteer trip essay. So mission trips, service trips often can be seen as surface level, sometimes even privileged, actually, even though it is a selfless thing to do in the sense of going somewhere that's not a vacation when they could have. But we still want to focus on, again, that transformation versus the trip. So finding a smaller, maybe everyday act of service that has emotional connections, maybe a specific experience within the trip that really transformed a student, maybe advocating for someone or something that couldn't advocate for themselves. Or from a trip perspective, maybe focusing on what came after the trip. So what did I take from that trip and how did it transform me as a student into this new person and how that's going to help me beyond? Which, by the way, if volunteering is your jam, if your student is super involved in volunteering, we did recently release a video all about community service scholarships, how volunteer experience can help students get college paid for. We'll link to that in the description, or you can click on it here. Okay, the next video, kind of cliche, is the failure to succeed. So many students focus on kind of predictable failures. Maybe they lost a game or failed a test, and they don't dive into a bigger emotional or intellectual lesson learned here. Instead, what we want to do is choose a failure that reflects personal growth, not just achievement. So even if the outcome wasn't even necessarily what we wanted, we can still learn a lot from that and grow from it. So these are discussions that, as a parent, if you're watching this, you can have that discussion with your student and talk them through, well, you may not have made the varsity team, but what did you learn from it? What did you do because of it? Another example could be maybe a student completely bombed a first public speaking engagement or attempt, but later on overcame that stage fright by practicing with friends and now leads school events with whatever role it is. Or maybe a student failed to start a club that they really wanted to and learned the value of collaboration and how to bring people together and get their buy-in. But we want to take it further and show how we applied this lesson, right? How did it help me in another situation soon after that? Okay, now the fourth common essay is the grandparent tribute or someone else. So this we often talk about in the scholarship system course, which you can learn more about in the link in the description. But the thing is, we don't want to sell grandma into getting into college or into getting the scholarship, right? So while it's heartfelt and sweet, we want to make sure that, yes, we can take pieces of what we got from these important people in our life, but we really want students to sell themselves. What is their journey? We can talk about how a grandparent or a special person in our life influenced our identity. For example, maybe a grandparent growing up in the Great Depression can inspire a passion of history or social justice. Or maybe a grandparent taught your student how to cook or a specific skill, gardening. And so now that's sprung into a passion and eventually the career path that they're choosing. Really, that mention of that special person should be pretty minor when it comes to the overall essay. We could also pull from a shared memory that reflects a key life lesson that a student learned, like kindness, resilience, pursuing passions. Hopefully you're seeing a recurring theme here. We want to make sure we're talking about transformations with students, values with students, what they've learned versus the incidents themselves. All right, now the fifth one is a controversial topic essay. So while it's great to show passion, controversial topics like politics or religion can sometimes alienate readers, especially if it feels argumentative versus reflective. So maybe a different angle that we could go about this would be to focus on a personal experience that taught the student how to navigate differing opinions or develop empathy for other people that have different opinions. An example could be maybe a heated debate about climate change challenged a student's assumptions, encouraged the student to dig deeper into the issue and discover more facts. Or maybe a student grew up in a household that had opposing views and they had to learn compassion and how to have respectful discussions with people that don't see eye to eye. I think that actually this angle is extremely relevant in today's turmoil, tumultuous times. So reflecting on that experience, how it shaped a student's values without being polarizing, can actually show extreme maturity and can show how a student will succeed in college and beyond, because this is something that's going to come up every day in real life. Now, comment below, what essay topics is your student working on? Let us know in the comments and maybe we can share some ideas of essay topics that could be relevant. And I would love if parents see someone else's comment and their student already did an essay on that, share what you think as well. Don't be afraid to comment and reply to each other and help each other out. That's why we are building this #RebelFamily community. Okay, so that said, don't forget about that free webinar that I mentioned. The link is in the description, along with the other free resources that I mentioned. But that webinar will help you and your student find scholarships where we can reuse this essay. So putting all this time and effort into an essay, we want to make sure that we're able to use it to the max, right? We want to maximize it. So that means that we can use it for admissions as well as scholarships. So make sure that you're checking out that free webinar. You can go to thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar or click the link in the description. And again, make sure that you hit subscribe because every week we have a new strategy. But that said, I covered 5 different topics that could be seen as cliche or redundant or repetitive or not very memorable. And I gave you all alternative ways to approach them. So I hope that that was helpful. I will see you in the next video.